Okay, I'm going to try and make this short and sweet tonight and not go over the white paper as much as just put it into context. I know that the city manager is meeting with the directors this week to talk about their budget requests. And then Gil's going to come back to us and talk about the state of the state in terms of our finances. So I wanted to get this in before that and just kind of, my ultimate goal here is to get the council to say, bring these two things back as initiatives during the budget hearings, and then they can have a full airing. We'll have a chance to hear what Gil and the staff has to say about the budget. We'll be able to have a more robust discussion then tonight when we don't have those numbers. The Open Space Preservation Fund, an interesting discussion with Howard Reed about this yesterday. And he said, you know, we exceed the level of service with our parks and our open space, you know, and why do we need more green space? And I explained to him that most of this relates to habitat that supports gopher tortoises, burrowing owls, and 100 other species. And it's very unique, and it's mostly in the estates area. And when he heard it that way, that, oh, we're not just talking about green space anywhere, that there's a purpose for that and that it supports these endangered species, he was, you know, he was more willing to listen to it. So maybe the language I could clean up a little bit, but that's the kind of land that I'm referring to. You know, the perfect example would be that property that we were willing to give the extra $10,000 to purchase for Conservation Kyer that ultimately got denied. That's still available. It's a valuable piece, and I would like to start a fund that we would have available, especially to use for matching grants. I followed up on a couple of matching grants that are in the paper that I wrote that were recommended by Conservation Kyer. Two large Florida matching grant programs that I asked our staff, I asked the city manager, have we ever applied for these grants? And the answer was no. And that brings up my second request, which is to hire a full-time grant writer. And I think that from what I've heard from different people who've actually contracted with grant writing agencies, that's another way to go. So we don't actually have to have an FTE, as Eric would say, another full-time equivalent, but maybe a contract with a grant writer for a certain number of years to see if it plays out. So if we can bring this back as an initiative and possibly rethink it as something that will sunset, you know, let's try it for 5 years. Let's try and get a grant writer and seed this for 5 years, and let's see how it plays out. Can we actually obtain these matching grants? Will our grant writer come through? And then if not, it'll sunset and go away, and whatever money we collect, we can put into our reserves. So all I'm asking you for tonight, folks, is to consider allowing this to come up as budget initiatives. And I would suggest that if we do go with a standalone grant writer, that it report to our executive department, that not to an individual department like growth management or whatever. I would rather see this come out of, you know, under Casey's umbrella and have it be very focused. So that's it. If you have any questions about the paper or the concept, I'm more than willing to answer them.